Hello everyone, thank you for joining today's webinar. Today's webinar is titled Harnessing the Power of Digital and Social Media to Drive Patient Recruitment. Today our guest speaker is Barbara ZUPANCIC. She is the Senior Director for Patient Recruitment and Retention, and she's got over 15 years of experience in clinical research, specifically focused on patient recruitment and feasibility. We're really excited to have Barbara kind of talk through this presentation today. There's a lot of great information here. And so, with that, I'll let you kind of take a little peruse of what her experience is like on the screen. And Barbara, when you're ready, it's all over to you.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Very nice to be here. Let me start by asking you, the audience, what would you do? Where would you look if you were looking to join a clinical study? If you're a patient and you don't really know much, where would you look? Keep that in the back of your mind as I go through these slides, and maybe when I'm finished, you'll have a better idea of the places that are the most successful to find clinical studies. But a successful clinical trial is all about not only the clinical disease at hand, but also how patients and their families or caregivers experience the illness. Patients and families are more likely to respond positively when all education and communication is consistent, familiar, and when they feel like their experience and input matter. So this patient-centric focus is utilized in creating a brand that resonates throughout the program. So here in this slide, you can see that we really are talking about giving the study a name, and the same look and feel across all collateral. So the visual identity is also important here. And this helps to engage patients, it creates emotional resonance, and it makes people feel like they're part of something larger. I myself have spent a lot of time at sites, and I can tell you right away which studies get the most attention, and they are the ones that are not the ones that are referred to by letters and numbers, but the ones that have a name and that have a certain look and feel and, colors and something that makes them stand out. The studies that we run at Worldwide are mostly global in nature. So we have expertise in not only different indications, but in running studies in different regions of the world. And this slide here really shows you strategies that we utilize, not always for every study, but these are the ones that we have at our disposal. So raising awareness across the care teams, supporting sites. Sites are very, very busy places, and they often are very, very happy to receive any kind of assistance. So simple things such as site recruitment plans, pocket protocols, ID cards, lunch and learn kits. Oftentimes the PI or study coordinator will be reaching out to referring physicians, so having a lunch and learn kit is really a nice thing to have. We also do, and again, depending on the indication, TV, radio, newspaper ads. That seems old-fashioned, but in certain areas of the world and for certain indications, they are still very much used. Having a study website, super important. That's sort of the go-to, the central hub for a study. And, studies all over the world are easily identified and shared and disseminated with a study website. So study website, and I'll go into this in a little bit more detail in a little while. Typically, we can just do a simple one that has an FAQ, information about the clinical trial, a site locator page, and you can even do a little pre-screener, and patients can see quickly if they are a candidate and then reach out to the site nearest them. And then digital media campaigns. You have this wonderful website. You can do so many things with it. You can advertise it globally or locally, and you drive traffic to this website, and I'll go into a lot more detail in the next slides exactly about how we do that. And educating patients. I was just myself a patient in the study. And I will tell you, it was not such a positive experience. I was not educated at all about what they were really looking at, and no follow-up at all. So going with our patient-centric approach, it is super important to educate patients and speak to them in their language. And the consenting process, which I always say is really such an important piece of the whole puzzle. The way we are consenting patients and using layperson's language and really answering their questions is really important. Every single patient counts. And we always keep that in the back of our minds. And then patient retention, engaging these folks once somebody has signed the consent. How do we keep them in? Some studies are easier than others. Some are long. Some are years long. Some require many visits to the site. What do we do to help these folks who may have disabilities and have a difficult time getting to the site? So we work with travel vendors. In the U.S., there's Uber Health, Lyft. We typically tell sites at least offer reimbursement. And we also work with some vendors that do concierge service. Home health nursing, globally available. We use it often. And it doesn't have to support all the visits to the site, but it certainly alleviates a lot of the burden for patients who would otherwise have to be going to the site. So outreach, support, engagement tactics. Here is sort of the landscape of everything that we do that I was sort of talking about. This puts it in a little bit better perspective. So we are engaging the community. We have this wonderful website and we are advertising it. We're using radio, TV ads, and social media and paid search, blogs. And then also we must talk about the importance of advocacy here. Advocacy groups exist for practically every indication. Some are much stronger than others in the sense that they're very involved with the FDA and really know what's going on out there. And that is typical for rare disease, I've noticed. We work a lot with rare disease, and these folks are passionate. And so really working with them on a patient-centric approach, making sure that anything that we're creating is utilizing language that they approve of and understand and use themselves. So we're really creating communication pieces that resonate with this patient population. So advocacy groups, conferences. Conferences are a wonderful place to disseminate information. As a matter of fact, I attended one yesterday between the FDA and rare disease groups, and just listening to these folks talk about their illness with the FDA was very mind-opening. And so, conferences, meetings, all of that kind of stuff is a great place to learn information and to also share information. So I mentioned earlier having a study website. I'll just briefly, most people know what a study website is, but specifically for disease, we've got one here just to show you. We did some branding for this ALS study. And, it's just, it has some information about the study. It has frequently asked questions. We usually put a site locator on there. And you can do a pre-screener, and it can be as involved as you'd like. So it can just be a few questions, and if the patient qualifies, they then make the effort to call the site. Or you can have somebody from the site contact the patient, and you could put a little extra questions in there to really make sure that we're vetting the best patients. So sites are not being inundated by folks who really wouldn't qualify at all. So this is just an example for a study we're running now for Orphazyme. And it's a beautiful website, and I encourage you to take a look if you're interested. And here's just a little piece about digital marketing. And, the use of various social media platforms such as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, for dissemination of clinical trial information has created a lot of possibility. It's sort of characterized by a people-to-people immediacy. Social media really permits extraordinary modification of study information in real time. And it does so in a very targeted fashion. Participants are widely dispersed and you can reach them, immediately practically. New therapeutic developments are constantly being developed. You can share that. And folks are longing for inclusion. We're all online, aren't we? So digital marketing is used for everything in this world practically. So it is also used for clinical trials. And it's really a quick way to disseminate information that is actionable. And social media also permits both speed and, as I mentioned earlier, extensive geographic coverage. And you can see here on the right the different channels that are not limited to, but they do include all of these: Google AdWords, search. I mentioned earlier patient advocacy groups, digital health communities, and so on. And Facebook has a massive user base. Last I checked, it was about 1.86 billion with a B active monthly users. So this means that a large majority of patients with a diagnosed medical condition are using this platform, as well as many patients whose presentation has not yet rendered a medical diagnosis, or perhaps family members or friends. They're on Facebook and they're making decisions and they're looking and seeking for information in clinical trials. And ads can be placed in various places on Facebook, which is, they can appear on a caregiver's or a patient's mobile feed, on their desktop feed, or even on Instagram. And I mention Instagram because they're owned by the same company, Facebook and Instagram. There are a variety of targeting options that hone in on desired patient populations. So ads can be targeted to location, age, gender, ethnicity, language. And Facebook also identifies interests based on information users add to their profile. So it's really an amazing marketing social media platform. And it's been shown to decrease attrition and encourage participants to engage in follow-up. And it also generates active dialogue. So there's really a lot to be said for that. And I will tell you that all age groups, as far as I can tell, are on Facebook. And I would say actually the older age group is on Facebook much more than my kids. They're more on Snapchat and Instagram and things like that. But anyway, so here is just a little bit more about social media, and we're looking at Twitter. And Twitter supports more than 35 languages and has over 1 billion, with a B, unique visits to sites with embedded tweets. It is a great platform for health promotion and education, for patients to communicate about their own health, and an excellent place to promote clinical trials. And I think most of us either use Twitter or know something about it. And you can also see on the bottom right hand, you can see our Twitter handle, Worldwide Trials. And here I'd like to talk just briefly about the site and patient portal, which we often use for studies. And really the site portal is sort of like a one-stop shop. That is, it's a 24/7, it's got availability 24/7. It's available across all platforms, so that includes computer, tablet, smartphone. It's basically a central hub for all study information. We can house training videos, which is really nice. Visual and animated training format really helps site staff remember and learn in a better way. The training can be reused, and it's standard. So the training is the same across for all sites. And all of this is compliant and regulatory approved. And then also we have real-time access to visit-specific guidance. So any procedures that are coming up, determining quality and completeness of data for site staff, and all study documents are housed on there. So you have links to all of that, and sites can also share newsletters. It's a really wonderful tool, especially for studies that might involve many assessments that are difficult, and this is just a great tool for sites to have. And it's also an excellent tool for patients and or caregivers. And, you know, they log on with a personal login, and this keeps patients engaged and informed. They have access to all study updates, newsletters, milestone alerts, and it's practical support of what to expect before, during, and after the visit. And it's all compliant, localized, and it is a great, great thing we offer to patients. And again, it can be accessed on computers, tablets, and smartphones. And so engaging patients in their community, I already mentioned that before, but they are out there and they are organized. So community outreach events are really a place where you can do a lot of dissemination, not only talking with families and patients, but actually disseminating study information. I'm very involved myself in Alzheimer's disease. My dad passed away from it a few years ago. So we go to all these community screenings and events in our community, and I know they're all over the world, not just for Alzheimer's, but for many diseases. And so going out there, there's a run or a walk, there are usually booths set up. That's a great, great grassroots effort that can, you know, that doesn't cost much and really does make a very big difference. So I think I've summed up pretty much the different tactics we use to engage patients, support sites, and I hope that now you have a better understanding or an answer to the question that I asked you in the very beginning of this webinar. And this completes my portion, and I will hand it over to Jackie to tie things up.
Thank you, Barbara. Lots of great information here today. Thank you so much for this webinar. It was really, really great. If anybody has any questions, we encourage you to reach out to us via the Contact Us form on our website. We'll give you a link to that at the end of this presentation. But I also want to point out that recently Worldwide is celebrating the win of the 2019 CRO Leadership Awards. We won in all 5 categories for capabilities, compatibility, expertise, quality, and reliability. So lots to celebrate there. And within those awards, we've actually heard really positive feedback from customers who have used Worldwide. So you can see on the screen here, there's a couple of really good quotes that we took right from the report, and we hope that this will help you understand exactly how and why Worldwide considers themselves the cure for the common CRO. So with that, I'd just like to end by thanking Barbara again for her time today, and we will invite you to reach out to Barbara with any questions. Her email's on the screen. And if you have any other additional questions, please visit worldwide.com. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time today. We look forward to the next one.